So we're going to be in Mark chapter 9. This will be our first scripture, continuing the touring the land of Jesus. And we've seen a lot of places in Israel, specifically around the Galilee and in Jerusalem, mainly New Testament. That's what we're covering, New Testament portions of the land. Today we're going to look at a couple mountains. You know, mountains play a big part in the landscape of Israel. I mean, just so many mountains, all the way from the north to the Golan Heights and to Mount Hermon, all the way to Jerusalem, to Zion and Mount Moriah, and so many mountains. And they're mentioned all through the Bible. I mean, they play a big part in the Bible narrative. And so we're going to specifically be in the Lower Galilee. The Lower Galilee is the area just from the lake itself to a little bit south. And so that's the Galilee region. And there's several mountains in that area. On a clear day, it's kind of like the mountains, the Rocky Mountains. From here on a clear day, you can see the mountains. In the Galilee, on a clear day, you can see mountain. You can basically see all the mountains. So we're going to focus on two mountains today. So first of all, we're going to put up a map, and we're going to, let me get my pointer. Gotta get my pointer here. I found a pretty cool map online. It shows the mountains. It shows the topography. And so just to give you an idea, just to give you a couple mountains that aren't, some are actually labeled. The Galilee, let me just start over here. Right here, Mount Carmel. You ever heard of Mount Carmel? Where Elijah called down fire from heaven and the prophets of Baal. So just so you can see the proximity, Carmel, this little thing is covered, but down this way, if you could see it, Mount Gilboa. Gilboa is actually the mount. It's where Saul was killed by the Philistines. Gilboa is also, let's see what else. Gideon, to the 300 defeated the Midianites, Gilboa. So if we come on over here, Nain, you see this right here? This mountain is called Mount Moriah. It's actually the place where Jesus healed the widow's son. And then if you come up here, Nazareth. Yes, Nazareth sits on a mountain, Mount Precipice. Mount Precipice, I showed you a few weeks back when we looked at Nazareth. The cliff where the synagogue, where Jesus went into the synagogue and he taught, the Spirit of the Sovereign Lord is upon me. He's anointed me to preach and so forth. And they tried to throw him off the mountain. Well, that's Mount Precipice. So, and then of course on. So I'm just going to stay down here. Mount Tabor is where we're going to start off with. Mount Tabor, that's a significant mountain right there. So Mount Tabor, that's going to be the first place. That's mainly going to be the focus today. But Mount Tabor. So put up the next picture. And this is a picture of Mount Tabor. Looks like a dome, doesn't it? A nice, smooth dome. So Mount Tabor, let's see. 11 miles southwest of the Sea of Galilee. So it's not that big. All of Israel's the size of New Jersey. So it's a small country. So really, Mount Tabor, it's only 11 miles southwest of the Sea of Galilee. It's only about 5 miles east of Nazareth. And actually, put up the next picture. Here's a picture we're standing on Mount Precipice, where they tried to push Jesus over, taking a shot at Mount Tabor, taking a picture of Mount Tabor. So that's how close they are in proximity. So it's a pretty cool picture. Tabor is centrally located in the Jezreel Valley. We've talked about the Jezreel Valley. This is all Jezreel Valley. Jezreel Valley, it's also known as Megiddo. What's another name for Megiddo? Do you remember? Armageddon. Man, you Bible scholar. Wow. Armageddon. You know what takes place? There's something that's going to take place in Armageddon. The Battle of Armageddon. So, Armageddon. Scholars believe that actually this is going to be the site of the major end time battle of Armageddon. Let's see. Tabor, it's at the junction of several trade routes. I mean, it's like perfectly situated. It's like God strategically placed this mountain. I mean, it's almost like God went, just kind of formed it. This is where I want this mountain to be, because it's right at the crossroads of trade routes, north, south, east, west. It's strategically located, being in the Jezreel Valley, and so for that reason, many battles have taken place around Mount Tabor, and as I mentioned, a future battle, the Battle of Armageddon. Let's see.
So Ray, is
yes.
that Nazareth there in the forefront then, the town?
This is the outskirts of Nazareth here. This is another town. I can't remember the name of the town, but I'm actually standing at Nazareth, taking the picture over. So, I mean, you can see that's 5 miles across there.
Wow.
Yeah.
It's beautiful.
Yeah, it is. It's amazing. You can see, some of the questions prior was about the vegetation. You can see the plots of the crops. And, I mean, you can just see the perfect the vegetation marks. Let's see. For some reason, I keep losing my spot. Because of the battles in the ancient biblical times, Tabor served as a military fortress with lookout towers. So I have a picture at the top of Mount Tabor. The next picture, ancient lookout towers that date back to biblical times. So, I mean, you can picture with that being such an important area at all the battles, well, an armory up top, the towers, the lookout towers. The next picture, I got another picture. This is a picture from the tower overlooking Jezreel Valley. So isn't that amazing? I mean, you can picture, when you're there, you can just picture the battles. You can also envision all of the anti-Semitic nations, the godless nations coming together in that valley to defeat Israel. And that's what it's all about. They're coming, all of these nations that hate Israel. We kind of see an alliance now. We see Iran and some of these other nations that are coming together. And you can just envision, boom, they're all the millions of armies that are gathered together. And then Jesus returns with his saints on the white horses and speaks the word, and all of those nations are destroyed. And it says the blood will be up to the horse's bridle. And so amazing. One of the most famous battles of Mount Tabor, Judges 4, Deborah, the judge. Deborah and her, do you remember what her general was named? We had a president named Obama. What was his first name? Barack. Barrack. What'd you say, traitor? Oh, no, Barry. Okay, not traitor. Okay. Barrack. Yeah, I like to say Barrack. So, yeah, the story in Judges 4 is basically Barrack. He's kind of like, I don't know how to take him. He's like, I'm not going to go to battle without you. And so she's like, man, you need to rise up. You can take this army. So he leads the army of 10,000 men in chariots down the mountain, and they defeat the Canaanites. And Sisera was the Canaanite general. So that all took place on Mount Tabor. Mount Tabor is described in the Bible as a sacred mountain, a place of worship. Psalms 89, verse 12. I don't have this on the screen, but it says, you created north and south, Mount Tabor and Mount Hermon, praise your name. So that's Psalms 89:12. Mount Tabor and Mount Hermon, all the way up north. So Tabor speaks of worship, bringing glory to God. So considering all of this, it's the place of glory. It's the place of praise. It represents praise. It's the place of fortress. It's the place that's perfectly centrally located in the Galilee region, the Jezreel Valley, Megiddo, along the trade routes. It's right next door to Nazareth, to where Jesus lived. His relatives were in Nazareth. So it would be the perfect mountain for Jesus to take his disciples up and reveal his glory. Tabor's the Mount of Transfiguration. So that's what I'm getting at. It's the Mount of Transfiguration, which is one of the most significant events that took place between Jesus and his disciples. And so Mark chapter 9, verse 2 says, 6 days later, there we go, Jesus took Peter, James, and John and led them up a high mountain to be alone. Now, it doesn't say he led them up Mount Tabor, but based on everything, most people agree that this is the Mount of Transfiguration. We can go into detail. Some have said, oh, it's up north at Hermon, but it doesn't make sense because at the end of this, Jesus goes down the mountain, he meets a lame man. And so if the Transfiguration took place in Mount Hermon during Jesus' day, that was a forbidden area for the Jews. So it would have to be this area right here. It makes perfectly sense. So he took them up. He led them on a high mountain to be alone. As the men watched, Jesus' appearance was transformed, and his clothes became dazzling white. This is New Living Translation. Far whiter than any earthly bleach could ever make them. So there's several reasons why Tabor, as I mentioned, believed to be the place of the Transfiguration. I mentioned at the end of this, he goes to the bottom, he meets Jewish, he meets the lame, so that kind of confirms that would be this area. The location, it was a perfect location. It was proximity to everything. There's biblical evidence. And also, we've seen throughout the significant holy places, what do they build on holy sites? They build churches. Usually the churches, they go back, a lot of them go back to the 1st, 2nd century, or they're either built on the remains of other churches. And so that's the case here. There were 3 ancient churches that were discovered from the 3rd and the 4th century. So that validates a significant site. Matter of fact, the 4th century, Tabor was a pilgrimage site for Christians. So now it's mainly you're going to Jerusalem, you're going to the Galilee, around the Sea of Galilee. And it does draw a pretty big crowd, but kind of shocked that it doesn't draw as many as there should be, I guess. But I've got a picture of an ancient chapel. Maybe it's the next one. Okay. So there's a lot of old remains that date back, almost a couple 2,000 years. Let's see. I've got a picture of, 2 active churches today. Yeah, there's 2 active churches today. There's a Greek Orthodox church and the main church. This is the main church that's at the highest point. The tower that I showed you is you walk around, let me use this. You walk around this way, and on the back side's the tower. So we took that picture on the back side. So this is the highest point, which makes sense. This would be where Jesus would have been. So this is a Catholic church. Put up the next picture. And this is the inside. It's a beautiful church. This is actually, it's hard to see, but it's a picture of Jesus being transfigured in the glory of the Lord. They have lights all around it, so it represents the glory of Jesus shining. So I want to just talk a little bit about the Transfiguration. There's some significance to that. We know it's when Jesus, his clothes shone brightly in the light and the glory, but there's some significance. What about the Transfiguration? Why was this so significant? So let's just have a little devotional on that to give you a little bit of understanding. The Greek word for transfigured is the word metamorphothe, which is where we get our word metamorphosis, like a butterfly, the metamorphosis state. Metamorphosis refers to an outward change that comes from within. Metamorphosis it's not just about a change in appearance. It's not like, you're changing your hair or whatever, or putting on a new shirt. It's changing into something different. And so the outward change of Jesus into his glorified body is the result of what was already on the inside of him. Just like is it a chrysalis, the little, is that what it is? And the little caterpillar that turns into the butterfly. That butterfly is reflective of what was on the inside. So Jesus being transfigured, he was just reflecting on the outside what was already on the inside. On the outside, he was all man, but on the inside, he was all God. He wasn't half God, half man. He was all God, all man. It's hard to explain. It's hard to even comprehend this. But that outward change of Jesus into his glorified body is a result of what was already on the inside. So the transfiguration, it wasn't just an outer change in appearance, but it was the revelation of the glory he already had on the outside. It was the revelation of the glory that he had before coming to earth. So he literally turned into who he was and is prior to being born of a virgin. It's mind-blowing. And so it's just phenomenal. The glory he already had before coming to earth and what he'll also have when he returns in glory, when he comes back to Armageddon and speaks that word. That is the transfiguration. That's what his disciples saw. So he is revealing himself as God. He's revealing himself as deity. Verse 4. Now this is weird. Elijah appeared to them with Moses. Well, I didn't read it. Elijah appeared to them with Moses. That's how it should be read. And they were talking with Jesus. So the disciples are there, Peter, James, John, and then Elijah comes 1,000 years, well, actually probably 600 or 700 years prior to that time. Here comes Elijah and Moses showing up. What does this represent? Moses represents the law. Elijah represents the prophets, because Elijah is considered to be the greatest prophet. So they're bearing witness that Jesus is the fulfillment of the law and the prophets. Basically, they show up to the party to further confirm who Jesus is. That's the significance. That's why God sent them back. Basically, God sent them back from heaven saying, I've got an assignment. Those doubting disciples that still don't understand who Jesus is, Moses, Elijah, I want you to show up on Mount Tabor and tell them, let those disciples see, further confirm who Jesus is. And so very interesting, very interesting. Verse 5, then Peter answered and said to Jesus, Rabbi, it is good for us to be here. Let us make 3 tabernacles. 3? Why do you need 3? One for you, one for Moses, one for Elijah. Because he didn't know what to say, for they were greatly afraid. I mean, the guys, he had good intentions. He still didn't understand everything. Really, he only needs to build 1 tabernacle. But I mean, this would be pretty phenomenal to see an Old Testament prophet that you're studying, to show up. So, we'll give Peter a little bit of grace. He just doesn't know what's going on. So far we've got 2 confirmations of the glory of God. Jesus literally displays his glory. Moses and Elijah confirm the glory. And then here God speaks of the glory. Verse 7, and a cloud came and overshadowed them. And a voice came out of the cloud saying, this is my beloved Son. Hear him. And so there's 3 witnesses to confirm the deity and the glory of Christ. 1, his transfiguration. 2, Moses and Elijah returning to confirm the glory. He's the fulfillment of the law. He's the fulfillment of the prophets. Then God the Father declares the glory of Christ. Actually, the way I wrote it, I kind of write in maybe I don't want to call it poetic, but I wrote it. The Transfiguration reveals the glory of Christ. The Transfiguration reveals the glory of Christ. Moses and Elijah confirmed the glory of Christ. God the Father declares the glory of Christ. So that's how I wrote it. Pastors always got to write the iterations and 3 points, rhymes, things like that. Okay, verse 8. Suddenly, when they had looked around, it's all gone. They saw no one but just Jesus with themselves. So he's back to his fleshly self. Now as they came down from the mountain, he commanded them that they should tell no one the things they had seen till the Son of Man had risen from the dead. So they kept this word to themselves, questioning what the rising from the dead meant. Well, it wouldn't be not too many days later I wouldn't say days. It would be not too long later, Jesus would rise from the dead and would bring confirmation of this. Here's 2 points, and I basically already mentioned the first point about the Transfiguration. Transfiguration, Jesus revealed his glory to display his deity. And that's the most important. He revealed his glory to display his deity. Can you imagine being the disciples that day on the mountain? Imagine we would be like Peter too. We wouldn't really know what's going on. But as I think about this, we think of how awesome it would be. Oh, I wish I was there. But the fact of the matter is, we as believers, we get to see God's glory every day. We get to see God's glory every day. Here's some ways that we get to see God's glory. We see God's glory in nature. Psalms 19, verse 1. We saw it the other day with the lights, the northern lights. Some got pictures. A few weeks back, the eclipse. Psalms 19:1, the heavens declare the glory of God. We see billions of stars beyond the billion. From what we see here, this is nothing. There's billions of stars, billions of galaxies. It's so phenomenal. They're discovering new galaxies every day. So that's the glory of God. We get to see that in creation. We get to see glimpses of glory in his word. We have his written words. John 1:14 says, we beheld his glory. I don't have that down. We beheld his glory full of grace and truth. John 1:14. His word is truth. His word is truth. So we see glimpses of his glory when we meditate on his word. Maybe this is you. So many times I can be reading the Bible and I can read something, it seems like hundreds of times, and I'll see a scripture and I'll look at it and I'll meditate on it, and it's like, whoa. It's like the first time I ever saw it, and it's like the scripture comes alive. Have you ever had that? And it just speaks to your heart, and it's like, wow, it's like you're seeing it for the first time. That's the glory of God through his written word, because the word is alive. We see the glory of Christ in his character. His character is love and grace and mercy and forgiveness. The glory of God was demonstrated to the guy that shot your son. That's the glory. He got to experience the glory of Christ, the grace of Christ, the mercy, forgiveness of Christ. We hope that he receives that glory. Sometimes we see his glory through miraculous events. Have you seen miracles? I think we've all seen miracles, seen people healed and set free. What about the terminally ill person expected to die, but they're healed? What about the drug addict who OD'd, should have died, but now he's set free, but now he's preaching the gospel? None of this happens unless the glory of God shows up. So these are ways that we get to experience the glory of God. What about the glory of God being revealed through unplanned, unexpected events? The way this could be explained. Maybe something happens and at first it appears to look like a tragedy. And it's taken you off guard. But then as the dust settles and you start to reflect on it, you discover that unforeseen, unplanned, bad thing is actually a blessing from God. Even in the midst of tragic events, You see whole families that come to know Jesus because of maybe a death of a loved one or something. And so these are just ways that we experience the glory of God. Another point about the Transfiguration. So the Transfiguration, it declared the deity of Christ, but also Jesus revealed his glory through the Transfiguration to prepare these disciples for ministry. So it was about him revealing himself as deity, but it was also about preparing Peter, James, and John for what was going to take place, preparing them for ministry. And matter of fact, Peter writes of experiencing the glory. John writes of experiencing the glory, even in Revelation. And so being there, really seeing the glory, helped to prepare them to spread the glory and spread the good news of Jesus. Jesus was actually making an investment into their future ministry by revealing himself. And so, and that's, and of course, think about ways that God displays his glory to us. He displays his glory to reveal his deity, but he also displays his glory. Why do I keep saying that? I'm thinking ahead. He also displays his glory so that we can take that and share with others the miracles that we experience. Tell others about Jesus, the things that we experience through his word, through whatever, to share the gospel with others. And so Mount Tabor is the place of glory. And very briefly, I'm going to show you another mountain because Tabor and the next mountain go together. Mount Arbel is the next mountain. And this is from Matthew 28, verse 16. It says, "Then the 11 disciples left for Galilee, going to the mountain where Jesus had told them to go. When they saw him, they worshiped him, but some of them doubted." So this is after the resurrection. Notice this is at the end of Matthew. This is not long before his ascension. Basically, it's Jesus' final trip to the Galilee with his disciples. I put up the picture of the map again. So Mount Tabor, it's not marked. Arbel is right here. That's Arbel. So Tabor, Arbel is right on the Galilee. It's right there. So you can see, Jesus, he speaks of going to the mount, going to the Galilee, going to the mountain where Jesus told them. Put up the next picture. This is what Arbel looks like. And specifically this, you can see this anywhere in the Galilee. I mean, it is very a distinct shape. That is Arbel. So what is Arbel? What took place on Mount Arbel? Well, look at verse 18, Matthew 28, verse 18. Jesus came and told his disciples, "I have been given all authority in heaven and on earth. Therefore, go and make disciples of all nations." I mean, picture Jesus and his disciples standing up there. "Go and make disciples of all nations, baptizing them in the name of the Father and the Son and the Holy Spirit. Teach these new disciples to obey all the commands I have given you. And be sure of this, I am with you always, even to the ends of the age." So Mount Tabor is the place of the glory of Christ. It's the place of preparation. Arbel is the place of the Great Commission. It's the place where Jesus said, "Go. Go." So see how Tabor and Arbel go together? Jesus revealed himself at Tabor and prepared them to spread the word, to get them ready. But Arbel is where he actually commanded them to go and be disciples and spread the gospel. And so got one more picture. I want to show you this picture because this is really cool. This is a picture standing on Arbel, looking over the Galilee. You could see pretty much the whole entire Galilee. And remember, 60 to 70% of Jesus' ministry was by the Galilee, by the Sea of Galilee. It was where, really around the Galilee, is where Jesus, he did so many miracles, where he proved himself to be God. Around the Galilee is really where Jesus proved that all authority was given to him by the Lord. From this spot, I can pretty much, it's the way I envision it. Right before Jesus commanded his disciples, Jesus showing his disciples almost like a picture of a ministry picture, almost like a review for his disciples. Because this is how, when I was looking at this today, I was looking at so many different places. Like for instance, start up here, Capernaum. I can see him pointing to Capernaum. Hey, disciples, remember Capernaum? Remember Peter, I healed your mother-in-law at Capernaum. Remember in the synagogue, I healed the man with the withered hand. Remember, I cast out devils at Capernaum. I can see him coming down here, right around in here. Tabor, the place of the loaves and fishes. Remember when I multiplied the loaves and the fishes? Remember when I fed the 5,000? He's showing all authority has been given to me. Capernaum, right there is Tabor. Coming on down, actually right below that is Magdala that we talked about last week, that we saw last week. Remember Magdala? Remember when I set Mary Magdalene free from the demon spirits? The other side of the lake over here, this region, the land of the Gadarenes. Remember when we crossed? Actually, right around in here is the Sower's Cove. Remember when we crossed across the Galilee and the storm raged and I calmed the storm? Remember when we went to the land of the Gadarenes and I cast out the devils, the legion of demons in the demoniac? Remember walking on water? Remember calling you disciples along the bank of the Galilee? So I could just envision Jesus pointing all these. So in lieu of all of that, in lieu of everything that you've seen me accomplish, now you go. All authority has been given to me. I'm giving that authority to you. You go, spread the gospel, and tell the world about me. That is Mount Arbel. And isn't that the command to all of us? It's also interesting about this area when he says, go into all the worlds. Remember Capernaum and so many of the international highway ran, here's a highway, ran right along this path. The international highway is what connected the known world together. And so literally Jesus, he's pointing, go into all the world. There's the highway and the byway that takes you to all the ends of the world. And so it's the perfect ending of a ministry. Jesus recapping and then saying go. And that's what we're commanded to do, right? That's what we're commanded to do. I got a 1-minute video that I want to show you that I think is pretty cool. Michelle is the star of the video. But this is a video that we took on, hold on 1 second. Pause it 1 second. I was like, whoa. Let's start. Okay, so let's start that over. So this is, we're on the boat, the Galilee boat. And so that's just setting up. And so they caught the fish and cooked it on the boat for us. So anyways, I just want you to see the little story here.
So you enjoying your fish? Listen to How Great Is Our God? Wait a second, where are we at now? What's amazing is we're eating this meal, fish, and over your shoulders, Mount Arbel.
Arbel. Right over his shoulders.
The very top of Mount Arbel. And that's where he gave the Great Commission, go ye into all the world and preach the gospel. Be fishers of men. We're eating fish. literal fish. And we're looking at the place where Jesus commissioned his disciples to go into all the world. We're blessed to be here. How great is our God?
That's it. Isn't that cool? It just dawned on us like we're just eating, and it's like, whoa, oh, there's Arbel. So fish, and so that was definitely a highlight. So Mount Tabor and Mount Arbel.